Hi, everybody. It's Ron, and it's the start of a fantastic new year. And I'm going to get my tree taken down today, but it's still left over from last month. And got some interesting headlines today, which is a little bit unusual. Usually the news cycle right around on Christmas, right around on New Year's, it's kind of dead. But we got some kind of neat things to talk about. And let's just get right to it. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I was pausing there because I was thinking. I did my biggest viewed video was the New Year's video. It's a live stream. It's under the live tab on my channel, and it talks a little bit about news in general, the year in general, the year ahead. Some of my books, how I'm trying to relate what my writing to the new age I think we're moving into, and also delving into a subject which I usually don't get involved in because it's not big news, but the country of Myanmar and what's happening there. So see that. I'll put a link in the description too. So let's get right to it. We got a crash there after the terrible earthquake in Japan. Japan, one of the coolest places to visit in the world, but it got those scary earthquakes, and I'm so materialistic every time I hear about a plane crash and that people escape. I really worry. Like, I wonder, can I get my baggage off of there? I've packed it with all the cool things I've bought on the trip. That's all I'm thinking about. Here they got rid of that crazy head of Harvard. These were the ladies of the Ivy League schools who couldn't condemn as a violation of their university's speech code if people started calling for genocide of Jews. You know, not supporting Palestinians, but we have to go a lot further than that. Here we have, now we talked about this a little bit. Now, remember, the most important thing in the world is that everything is fine, and it has nothing to do with the presidency. The deficit. Now, the yearly deficit's $1 trillion a year, and now our national debt's top 34 trillion. Now, if we look back, who was the greatest president? And I say this part seriously and part sarcastically. The greatest president was Bill Clinton, for many reasons. Essentially, he did a lot of the things that the Republicans said they were going to do in the 80s. One of the things he did, he balanced the budget. He got the yearly deficit down to zero. After that, we have a series of presidents, George W. Bush, President Obama, President Trump, and now Biden, who have grown not only the yearly deficit to $1 trillion a year, but the national debt. Just adding trillions and trillions on for wars, to keep themselves in power, to stave off a recession, which we haven't had for way too long now. So now we've got this deficit. Of course, you see Fox Business. It's a kind of a right wing or a far right wing site. They're going to trumpet this up, because they're right leaning. They're not like most of the media, which is kind of soft peddling the economic data or the troubles, and in fact, the rest of the media is saying that everything is fine, and you're mistaken if you blame Biden for anything. We've gone across those specific sort of articles that come out in the New York Times in the past month. Here we have, I think this is a Chinese almanac, pocket Chinese almanac, with their predictions. Of course, many predictions, and perhaps I am a symptom of that. They're about as prescient as next Wednesday. You know, it's easy to just look at some of the news stories and say, oh yes, good luck in decline, or the wealth star is weak. This has been the feeling that there's going to be a recession. Chatbots produce alarming results. Again, since those chatbots are essentially plagiarizing existing content on the web, and there's a lot of unease now. They're going to return that back and give dire forecasts. More about Trump. That's very tiresome. Election of doom. Trump and Biden trade dire warnings. The world will end if one of them or the other is elected. I just have to say, as someone who is not a fan of Trump, even though I have historically leaned that way, and you can find out that information, not for Trump, but just I'm a little bit more conservative, maybe. But Trump is an outrage. And if Trump is elected again next year and he's run against Biden, I mean, I'm not sure if people should say they ditched the Republican Party. They should probably ditch the Democratic Party because, they put up Hillary Clinton, which people are going to hate me. And she's a terrible personal presentation of a person. But I still look back to the Bill Clinton era, the internationalist view, the kind of conservatism of Bill Clinton's presidency in many ways, except his personal content. His personal actions, but you look at, they put up Hillary Clinton against Trump. Hillary Clinton, very high unlikability, and she lost that. And now they're putting up Biden, who, despite what the media soft pedals his gaffes, anyone who listens to him, like people outside the United States who are not fed information by the U.S.-based media, they're like very baffled that Biden could even be allowed to run for president because he seems sort of senile at times. So if Trump wins next time around, it's incredible that the two major parties of the country have offered us these two guys. Just like it was incredible they offered us up Hillary Clinton and Trump that other time around. Well, what else do we have here? I'll get off my soapbox. I think I'm expressing a sort of everyman's frustration. If you look outside the media and see with fresh eyes the characters that are up for election, it's not befitting our country, I believe. Something about Congress, who cares? More big companies set to collapse this year, industry experts warn. Again, we'll see a lot of other articles that come out that will tell us things are better than ever, and why are people mistaken in thinking that anything's wrong. And this is also an article that leans into the idea, the feeling that this cyclical recession that we have been missing for so long, longer than is normal, is just around the corner. However, we've talked about this before. The Fed pre-announcing rate cuts next year. All of that's designed to make sure that during the election year, no recession will occur. This is a kind of stupid article, but that's what I trade in here. But I did notice why does a Gen Z people, older people like myself, look somehow younger than 20-something people? And they say it's vaping and Botox and the crazy stuff. That I know people have, they compare, who's this person? I don't even know. Emma Chamberlain, 22, is 12 years older than Taylor Swift, 34. But this is the one I always heard about. Just like, this is Millie Bobby Brown. She looks actually kind of okay because she's made up here. But you see a lot of pictures of her, and she looks like she's in her, like she's 40 years old, and she's only 19. And they're making a point that it seems like a lot of people, or maybe just celebrities, look like that. Then again, maybe it's just a clickbait article. Got me to click on it. So, Epstein doc set for release. This is all those people who are flying with him on the plane. Bill Clinton, again, unfortunately, is in that list. I don't know. it's weird. It's weird. You'd think if you get in those positions, you'd be extra careful and extra circumspect about your behavior. But apparently, when you have those positions of power, it makes you even more. It makes you even more willing to take chances and do silly stuff. So. It's a terrible thing to say all that stuff is silly stuff, but I'm on the outside looking in. What else do we have here? We've got stuff in Israel. We've got this escalation here. Iranian warships entering the Red Sea. It's a lot of different powers that would wish to challenge the U.S. U.S. is the world's policeman. We spend trillions of dollars on this. We've got 100 bases more are all around the world. Our troops are stationed in a lot of countries, probably your country, probably. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where the U.S. is enmeshed in supporting financially, if not in other ways, two big wars, the one in Ukraine and the one in Israel. And oddly enough, at the same time, public opinion in the United States has turned against involvement in foreign wars. I suppose I shouldn't say oddly enough, because we know during the George W. Bush time, the last 6 years of his terms, the media relentlessly told us George Bush is a war criminal. He should be in The Hague. Innocent women and children are dying, and we shouldn't waste our money on killing people overseas. So a lot of people, even on the right side or the conservative side, started to believe that as well. Then we have President Obama, should be a breath of fresh air. He has an even more elective war to overthrow Libya. And there are lots of actually good strategic reasons why one might assume maybe we should do that for the good of the people or whatever, but it was just funny that the next president in, after all of the bile that was thrown at Bush, did essentially the same thing. And then here we have, in the Biden's time, we have two wars that have erupted. So, on balance, you probably do want the United States to be involved in these, to maintain the international order and continue the move towards democracy and not have all this backsliding. But on the other hand, you can understand how the populace, after being conditioned by the media, maybe is turning against support of these wars. So countries like Iran, countries like Russia, countries like China, who have some interest, even Venezuela talking about trying to invade. They wouldn't have done that before, but now is a key point where it seems like the U.S. is overstretched and public opinion is against these wars. So countries are making their move. This may be a key time to do it. And apparently, if Trump gets elected, it would even be even better, because he's vowed to end these foreign wars, or the support of them. But really, I mean, it is easy to make a rabble-rousing argument that says to end the support, but on balance, it's a good investment. Yeah, if the U.S. is not maintaining this order in the world and keeping the shipping lanes clear, do you want China to start doing that, or Iran, or Russia? What else do we have here? Travis Kelce. Okay. This kind of goes with what I was just talking about. Putin under pressure to attack British military. Whoops, wait a second. Suspected that the UK was providing weapons and logistical support to the big attacks that happened in the Black Sea, Russia losing a ship, and so the thoughts that they need to retaliate in some way. So what the perfect thing would be for all of these countries around the world that want to do something, that want to take over another country, the once-in-a-lifetime chance when the public opinion may be turning against these involvements in international policing. It talks here, I'm trying to find it, that you could, somewhere in here, it talks about you could do this. Oh, here we are. You do something in the Red Sea, which not only could retaliate against the UK by hitting their ship, but would widen the war. It would have this, this kind of world war or global war, perhaps, where right now we have obviously Iran, telling their Houthi rebels, the guys who been trying to take over and have been in some way successful in taking over Yemen, are shooting missiles into the Red Sea. Obviously, this isn't a coincidence. This is happening for a certain reason, to try to widen the war, and and with the knowledge that U.S. public opinion is against more involvement in foreign wars. EU, Turkey, Turkey is an example of this as well, where Turkey has gone their own way. They were very quiet and placid NATO ally, and now they're stopping and have stopped other countries from joining NATO. They have their own strategic interests in the region, and they're using all these things as bargaining chips. They have all the Kurdish rebels, the issues in their borders. They've had incursions down into Iraq and Syria, and they have their own internal reasons not to play the game unless people accede. For instance, I believe it was one of the Nordic countries, Sweden, that is harboring the Kurdish rebels, which the Turkey says are terrorists. So it's never as simple as it seems, to support. Everything is a bargaining chip, one way or another. What do I got here? Got an alarm. Okay. Americans canceling more of their streaming services. I did just want to say something about this. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before. I'm baffled as to why people subscribe to these and say, oh, is there something on tonight or whatever? If you haven't seen the seminal works of cinema, for instance, anybody who's into pop culture, anybody who's probably watching YouTube videos, you need to stop if you haven't watched Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. It's a great It was the film essentially that Star Wars was based on, and you will see that in the film, and it's a magnificent film. If you're into creativity, if you're into writing fiction, creating comic books, whatever, something like The Hidden Fortress is a narrative precursor to many other things that came later. So when you are watching modern things, stuff on TV, they're often just pale copies of the earlier work. So you want to see something like The Hidden Fortress by Kurosawa. I think, stop and watch. Have you watched all the movies by Humphrey Bogart? Have you seen Sunset Boulevard? It's all about gaslighting. I think it's more pertinent to young people now than ever before. Have you seen Witness for the Prosecution? Charles Lawton and Marlene Dietrich. And these aren't like very deep, moody, kind of brainy films. These are films that that when you look at media that's created today, they're just pale carbon copies of these older movies. Oh, I know the other one. John Ford's The Searchers, which it's a John Wayne movie, but it's not like that. That go-go cowboy American toughness is shown to be an error in this film, and it is one of the greatest westerns, if not films, ever made. Also watch The Third Man. That's a great if you want to study on how to write screenplays, how to write any narrative, The Third Man. What a brilliant story, and an intermixing of darkness and humor. Same thing for Chinatown in the 70s with Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. I mean, that's a screenplay you study in film school, which I went to, and that's just something to study. And if you're a creative person, I would say instead of watching this new TV stuff and these series, all they are the same crap series we've always had, but with much higher production values. That's the difference. That's the new TV era. Go back and go to the root, go to the classics. Maybe watch Buster Keaton's The General. If you want to get into silent film, watch Metropolis. Those are the things you should be focusing on, as opposed to the pale imitations of today. And obviously, now Netflix and those streaming services are not my sponsors, if I could get one, and they probably now never will be. So, do I have anything else? Yeah, also don't do this, I think, if you're a creator. I don't understand why anybody would want to use these old public domain characters now. In any way, a lot of the imagery, like the ears, silhouette of the ears, that's a trademark. I think maybe even the word Mickey Mouse is still a trademark, so you can't use that. You could only use this specific design, how the shoes are, it's only this physical representation. Everything past that is still copyrighted. They'll slowly come into the public domain, but even then, a lot of things like you run into trademark things, because trademark lasts forever, and those are names and so imagery, and it's a murky thing. You make your own IP. So there's Musk, American ladies stocking up on abortion pills. I don't know why I find that funny. So anyway, that's the news for today, and as I say, it's a surprisingly funny amount of news for this early in the year. Watch my New Year's stream, and I just want to brag again. This is my latest novel, and actually my previous book is there too. I was just delighted to find out that it's right at the front of Asia Books, and this one is in, I think, Paragon, but it's in all the Asia Books locations around Thailand. My new book is about people traveling out to the ends of the world, finding themselves, being disillusioned. I talk more about that in my New Year's stream. I'll leave the link below. Also, we'll start out the year. This is my pack of Art of War cards. This is 1,500-year-old advice from China. See if it can assist us today. This is from Art of War. Kick away the ladder after the ascent. Okay. Strategy. Encourage and advance and eliminate the means to retreat. The basis of this is a decision to advance without a means to retreat forces a new direction. So this is like, I guess, burning your boats once you reach the shore to force your men to fight to the death. There's no going back. There's no retreat. I guess so we look at this Art of War stuff and say, how do we apply that to our business, to our lives? Sometimes I think we may have to say that we just have to take that step finally. It's never the right time to do something. It's never the perfect time. There'll always be a lot of caveats and things that stand in the way, but sometimes we just need to take that push. And anytime I've ever changed jobs or been fired from a job or had some big life kerfuffle, been at a cataract of changes in life, afterwards I always have to look back on that time, that it was the greatest moment, and I'm glad it happened. So burn those boats and go forward. I think maybe this is very good for this year. Let's go forward, and I'll see you tomorrow for more news.